Okay, we ran out of time for part 3 on the previous video, and it's only 1 mark, which is a bit frustrating, but it's something that a lot of students find difficult to understand when the expansion is valid for, so it's worth explaining part 3, I think. You need to remember that this expansion is only valid when the thing that is here, that you take as x, it's only valid if the modulus of that is less than 1. So if we take the first expansion we did, we substituted, instead of x, we substituted in minus 2x. So that expansion we did over here, this expansion, was only valid if minus 2x, if the modulus of that was less than 1, because of this rule here. Now, because there's a modulus sign there, the minus sign doesn't really make any difference. The modulus is going to make it positive anyway. So if we just divide both sides by 2, we'll get the modulus of x is less than a half. Another way to think about this, I suppose, is you could say that this is the same as the modulus of minus 2 times by the modulus of x has to be less than 1. And obviously the modulus of minus 2 is plus 2. So we get this, and then you divide both sides by 2, and that will get you this. So whichever way you think about it, when you do this first expansion over here, we'll call it number 1, when you do that, you need the modulus of x to be less than a half. Now, when you do the expansion for number 2, we substituted in a half x into this equation instead of x. So for expansion number 2, we needed the modulus of a half x to be less than 1. In a similar way to the previous question, instead of dividing by 2 this time, we can multiply both sides by 2. So the modulus of x has to be less than 2 for this one. And for this one, it's the same thing. Okay, so in order for expansion 1 to be valid, this needed to be true. In order for expansions 2 and 3 to be valid, we needed this to be true. Now, the only way both of those are going to be valid is if x is less than a half. If you think about it, if x was less than 1, if x was 1, for example, then this one is fine, but this one isn't fine. So in order for both of these expansions to be valid, then this needs to happen. If x is less than a half, then it will be valid for this one as well. So the final answer for part 3 is this here. Let's use a different pen. This is looking a bit of a mess, this question, but hopefully you've followed it. So that is the final answer to part 3, that modulus of x has to be less than a half.